My aunt lied. My family believed her. Now her name is on my charity. If you've ever been accused of something you didn't do, and I mean really accused, like family turns on you, pitchforks out, no questions asked, then buckle up, because this story is about to hit way too close to home. Hey, I'm Corvin, and this is the tale of how my aunt single-handedly turned my childhood into a nightmare, convinced everyone I was some kind of kleptomaniac, and how I turned that betrayal into the best revenge money can buy. Let's rewind to when I was just a scrawny, awkward 12-year-old kid with a bad haircut and a love for comic books. My family wasn't rich, but we were comfortable enough to throw decent birthday parties. Nothing extravagant, just family, cake, and a few presents. Now, enter Aunt Selma. Every family has a Selma. You know the type. Smiles too wide, always meaning well, but somehow manages to stir drama like it's her full-time job. Selma had this talent for making herself the center of attention, even when it wasn't about her. On my 12th birthday, things seemed normal. I got a couple of cool gifts, some action figures, a new backpack, and a watch from my grandparents that I was way too proud of. I remember thinking, hey, maybe middle school won't suck so bad after all. Yeah, I was wrong. The very next day, Mom sat me down with that look, the one parents give you when they're disappointed but trying to stay calm. Corvin, Aunt Selma says some things have gone missing after your party, she began. I blinked, confused. Missing? Like what? Jewelry? Cash? A gift card? She thinks. Well, she thinks you might have taken them. I laughed, out loud, because surely, this was a joke. Me? Steal? I was the kid who felt guilty for taking an extra cookie. But Mom wasn't laughing. Within hours, the family group chat exploded. Selma had already made her rounds, whispering in her ears, planting seeds of doubt. Suddenly, I was the troubled kid, acting out, probably going through a phase. By the end of the week, I was forced to return every single birthday gift just in case it encouraged bad behavior. My parents made me apologize to Selma. For what? I still don't know. And grounded me for a month to reflect. You'd think that was the end of it, but no. Selma wasn't done. For the next 4 years, every family gathering was a minefield. If something went missing, or even looked misplaced, eyes went straight to me. My cousins weren't allowed to leave their phones unattended around me. My uncle joked about patting me down before dinner. Selma made sure my reputation as the thief stuck like glue. I missed birthday parties, wasn't invited to sleepovers, and basically became the family outcast. All because Aunt Selma needed a little drama to spice up her life. But here's the thing about being falsely accused. It teaches you patience. The kind of patience that waits, plans, and promises that one day, you'll get the last word. And oh, did I? If surviving 4 years as the family scapegoat was an Olympic sport, I'd have taken gold. By the time I hit 16, I had mastered the art of keeping my head down while Aunt Selma kept spinning her web of lies. But don't get me wrong, I wasn't just sitting there taking it. I was watching, learning, and filing every petty comment and suspicious glance away for future use. High school wasn't exactly a haven either. Turns out that when your own family treats you like a criminal, word gets around. Cousins talk, parents gossip, and soon enough, I had a reputation outside of family dinners. The "don't leave your stuff near Corvin" jokes followed me through hallways like a bad smell. So I adapted. I stopped trying to prove I was innocent, because people who want to believe the worst won't be convinced otherwise. Instead, I focused on the one thing no one could take from me, getting out. I threw myself into school, not because I loved it, but because I saw it as my ticket far away from Selma and her circus. I picked up a part-time job at a bookstore, fitting since escaping into fiction was my specialty by then. I saved every penny, skipped every unnecessary outing, and planned my exit like it was a prison break. Meanwhile, Selma kept doing what she did best, fueling family drama. Every holiday was another round of watch your wallets, and we all know Corvin's history. My parents? They weren't exactly defending me. I think by then they were too worn down or too embarrassed to admit they'd let Selma's lies take root. Then came graduation. I didn't invite anyone. No family rows filled with fake smiles. Just me, a few real friends, and a silent promise that this was the last time anyone in that family would look down on me. I had been accepted into a university across the country, full scholarship, thanks to years of grinding away while everyone else was busy doubting me. I packed my bags without so much as a goodbye text to the family group chat. Freedom tasted better than any birthday cake I'd missed. College was a reset button. No one knew me as the thief. I built a new circle of friends, found people who valued me for who I actually was, not the caricature Selma had created. I majored in business, partly because I wanted to control my future, and partly because I had a very specific plan brewing in the back of my mind. By the time I graduated, early, by the way, I had 2 internships under my belt and a job offer from a tech startup that paid better than anything my family could dream of. I moved into a sleek apartment, started investing smart, and slowly watched my bank account grow. Meanwhile, the only updates I got from back home were through occasional social media stalking. Selma was still Selma, still hosting family events, still playing Queen Bee of a kingdom built on gossip. But here's where things get interesting. At 24, I launched my consulting firm. Small at first, but within a year, it took off. Turns out, when you spend your life analyzing people's worst behavior, you get pretty good at business negotiations. And then, like fate had a sense of humor, I got a call from an unknown number. "Hi, Corvin? It's Aunt Selma." I nearly dropped my phone. After all these years, after everything she'd done, now she wanted to talk? "I heard you're doing well," she said, her voice sugary sweet but with that familiar undertone of desperation. "I was wondering if you'd be interested in coming to the family reunion next month. Everyone would love to see you." "Oh, I bet they would." I let a slow grin creep across my face, the kind you wear when you know the game has just shifted in your favor. "You know what, and Selma? Count me in. It's been far too long." If she thought this was a reunion, she had no idea it was actually the opening act. And with that, I started planning exactly how I'd remind my dear family who they cast out all those years ago. The thing about family reunions is they're designed for nostalgia, fake smiles, and pretending everyone actually likes each other. But for me, this wasn't just a reunion. This was a stage, and I was about to give the performance of a lifetime. After Aunt Selma's oh-so-sweet invitation, I spent the next month preparing, not just my schedule, but my mindset. I wasn't that awkward kid anymore, begging to be believed. I was Corvin, the man who built himself from the ashes Selma tried to burn me in. When the day finally arrived, I didn't roll up in some flashy sports car. No, that's too obvious. I showed up in a sleek, understated sedan, classy, but not screaming "look at me." I wore a tailored suit, the kind that whispers success without needing to shout. The reunion was at Selma's house, of course. Her pride and joy. A place I hadn't stepped foot in since I was labeled the family liability. I walked through the front door and felt every pair of eyes land on me. There was a beat of silence, like they weren't sure if ghosts could actually RSVP. "Corvin." Selma beamed, arms outstretched like we were long-lost besties. "It's so wonderful to see you." I returned her smile with the same energy I'd give a business rival. "And Selma, always a pleasure." As the evening unfolded, I made my rounds. The cousins who used to hide their wallets gave awkward handshakes. Uncles who once cracked sticky fingers jokes suddenly wanted to know what I did for a living. Funny how success makes people forget their cruelty. Selma, of course, was glued to my side, parading me around like she had something to do with how I turned out. "We're all so proud of Corvin," she announced loudly during dinner like she hadn't spent years dragging my name through the mud. "See what a little tough love can do?" "Tough love?" Oh, that was rich. I let her have her moment because I knew mine was coming. When dessert was served, I tapped my glass, getting everyone's attention. "I just wanted to say a quick thank you," I began, watching Selma's grin widen, thinking she was about to get praised. "Thank you, and Selma, for teaching me one of life's greatest lessons." She preened. "Oh, Corvin, you don't have to." "No, really," I cut in smoothly. "You showed me exactly who not to trust, how to survive when everyone doubts you, and most importantly, how to succeed when people expect you to fail." The room went quiet. A few cousins shifted uncomfortably. My parents stared at their plates. Selma's smile twitched, but she held it. "Well, sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones we need most." I nodded, pulling out a small envelope from my jacket. "Agreed. Which is why I wanted to give you something. A little token of appreciation." She took the envelope, clearly expecting some sentimental gesture. But as she opened it, her face paled. Inside was a receipt, a donation confirmation. "I made a sizable contribution to a youth charity," I explained, loud enough for everyone to hear. "They help kids who've been falsely accused and ostracized by their families. Figured it was fitting to do it in your name." The silence was overwhelming. Selma opened her mouth, but no words emerged. For once, I raised my glass. "To Aunt Selma, may your legacy truly assist those in need." I didn't linger long after that. I had conveyed my message. As I exited that house, I felt lighter than ever. It's amusing how vindication doesn't always come with a bang sometimes. It's delivered quietly in an elegant envelope. And believe me, this wasn't the conclusion. Because legacies? They endure. You might expect that dropping that donation bomb would suffice to close the chapter on Aunt Selma and her troop of judgmental spectators. But no, when you publicly expose a narcissist, the ripple effects are too entertaining to ignore. A few days post-reunion, my phone began lighting up, not from Selma, of course. She remained silent. But my cousins? Suddenly, they figured out how to call my number after years of pretending I didn't exist. "Hey, Corvin, just wanted to say I had no idea things were that bad back then. Man, I was just a kid. I didn't know any better." Selma really had us fooled. It felt like everyone suddenly discovered their conscience at the bottom of their wine glasses after I left. I wasn't bitter. Honestly, I found it amusing. People love to rewrite history when it makes them feel better. I kept the conversations polite but distant, because forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting who stayed silent when it mattered. But the real spectacle? That came courtesy of my inbox. An email from the charity I supported, Corvin. Thank you again for your generous donation. We would love for you to be our guest of honor at our annual gala. Oh, and by the way, your aunt reached out. I almost spit out my coffee. Apparently, Selma, mortified that her name was now linked to a cause emphasizing false accusations, had contacted the charity, demanding they remove any mention of her. They politely refused, reminding her that donations made in someone's name are perfectly legal and, well, permanent. Poetic justice, indeed. I RSVP'd to that gala so quickly it would make your head spin. When the night arrived, I entered the ballroom feeling untouchable. I mingled, delivered a short speech about resilience, and shook hands with people who genuinely valued integrity. Midway through the evening, I spotted a familiar figure lurking near the entrance, Selma. Dressed to the nines but looked as if she'd swallowed a lemon. She didn't confront me immediately. No, she circled the room, likely trying to manipulate whatever narrative she thought she still controlled. Eventually, she cornered me by the bar. Corvin, she greeted, her voice strained. We need to talk. I sipped my drink, savoring the moment. Do we? Because from where I'm standing, everything's already been said. You've humiliated me, she spat out, dropping the insincere smile. Publicly. I shrugged. I didn't humiliate you, Selma. You accomplished that all by yourself years ago. I just finally showcased it. She attempted to argue, but each word she hurled at me only made her appear smaller. Eventually, realizing she was making no progress, she stomped away, heels clicking like an angry metronome. I turned back to the bar, raising my glass slightly in her direction. By the conclusion of the night, I had formed new business connections, earned a solid reputation within philanthropic circles, and gained the satisfaction of knowing Selma's legacy was now forever linked to helping children she once would have condemned. Sometimes, karma doesn't knock, it sends an engraved invitation. And I wasn't finished yet. Because after spending years being cast as the villain, it's only fair to enjoy playing the part a little longer. You'd think that following the gala fiasco, and Selma would have learned to keep a low profile. But no, people like her don't retreat quietly. They scramble, they plot, and they desperately try to salvage whatever pride they have left. About a week later, I began hearing whispers, through cousins, mutual acquaintances, and even a random LinkedIn notification. Selma was weaving a brand new narrative. Corvin misunderstood. It was all a big family joke back then. No one really thought he was a thief. Oh, so now it was merely banter? Right. I let her rewrite history for a while. After all, watching her squirm was entertaining. But then I received a message from an old family friend, someone who'd always treated me kindly. Hey Corvin, just a heads up, Selma's trying to get ahead of your narrative. She's planning some charity events of her own, wants to clear the air, and rebrand herself as a community leader. I couldn't help but chuckle. Classic Selma, when in doubt, throw a party and hope people forget why they originally disliked you. But two could play that game. Instead of confronting her, I did what I do best, worked smarter. I reached out to the same charity from the gala and proposed a partnership. Not just a donation this time, not a full mentorship program. Workshops, scholarships, real support for kids who'd been cast aside by their families. They loved the concept. A month later, we kicked off the initiative with a press release that just happened to spotlight my personal story and why this cause meant so much to me. The headline? From accusation to advocacy, one man's mission to protect the wrongfully accused. Selma's charity event was scheduled for the same week. When the articles began circulating, her event quickly turned into a ghost town. Sponsors backed out, attendees suddenly had other commitments, and her carefully crafted image as a pillar of the community crumbled faster than her insincere smiles. I didn't gloat openly. I didn't need to. The satisfaction came when I received a final email, short, bitter, and oh so sweet. I hope you're happy. No signature, but I knew exactly who it was from. I didn't reply. What was there to say? Happiness wasn't the goal, justice was. And I'd already achieved that. By the end of the year, my program was thriving, my business was booming, and Selma? Well, she'd faded into the background where she belonged. Funny how the thief ended up giving back more than anyone else in that family ever did. But hey, some debts aren't paid in cash, they're paid in reputation. And Selma's account was officially overdrawn. You'd think dismantling Aunt Selma's reputation would be the grand finale, right? Oh no, sometimes life hands you bonus rounds, and I wasn't about to waste mine. A few months after Selma's charity flop, I got an unexpected invitation. My parents were celebrating their 30th wedding anniversary and, shockingly, they wanted me there. Now, considering they'd spent most of my teenage years tiptoeing around Selma's lies, I debated ignoring it. But curiosity and a bit of mischief got the better of me. When I arrived at the venue, it was déjà vu all over again. Same faces, same forced smiles. But this time, I wasn't the outcast. I was the success story no one could ignore. Selma was there, of course, hovering near the bar, pretending like her world hadn't collapsed. She avoided eye contact, which suited me just fine. Midway through dinner, my father stood up to give a speech. Typical stuff, gratitude, memories, a few bad jokes. Then, to my surprise, he called me out by name. And to our son, Corvin, who's shown us all what resilience and integrity really look like. The room clapped awkwardly, but they clapped. I raised my glass with a polite smile, feeling the weight of years of silence finally crack. After the speech, a few relatives actually approached me with genuine conversations, not the usual small talk laced with suspicion. It was strange, but in a good way. Then came the moment I didn't see coming. As I was getting ready to leave, my mother pulled me aside. "I know we didn't protect you the way we should have," she said quietly, eyes glossy. "I'm sorry, Corvin. Truly." For a second, I didn't know what to say. I'd spent so long building walls that I never expected anyone from that side of the family to acknowledge the damage. "Thanks, Mom," I finally replied. "It's a little late, but I appreciate it." I left that night feeling lighter, not because everything was magically fixed, but because I realized something important. I didn't need their apologies to validate my journey. I'd already won the moment I stopped letting their opinions define me. As for Selma, last I heard, she was keeping a low profile. No more charity events, no more community spotlights. Just a faded name attached to a legacy she couldn't control. I poured my energy into expanding the mentorship program, traveling to speak at conferences, and growing my business. The thief label was long gone, replaced by something far more powerful: respect. Looking back, I don't regret a thing. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's living so well that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. And trust me, Selma's story ended the moment I stopped letting her write it. But mine? Oh, mine was just getting started. It's strange, isn't it? How the people who once held power over you eventually become footnotes in your story. A year after that anniversary dinner, life looked nothing like the one Aunt Selma tried to trap me in. My mentorship program was now nationwide. My business had doubled in size, and I was being invited to panels and interviews not as the kid with a past, but as a leader with a purpose. One afternoon, while clearing out some old files, I stumbled upon a faded photo from my 12th birthday, the last normal day before Selma's accusations flipped my world upside down. For a moment, I just stared at that kid in the picture. I barely recognized him. He looked hopeful, naive, completely unaware of the storm coming his way. I smiled, not out of sadness, but pride. That kid survived. More than that, he thrived. A week later, I got an email from a journalist working on a piece about family betrayal and resilience. Apparently, word of my story had spread further than I realized. "Would you be open to sharing more details?" they asked. I thought about it. For years, I'd let my actions speak louder than any expose ever could. But maybe, just maybe, there was value in telling the full story. Not for revenge, but for every other Corvin out there still stuck in their family drama. So I agreed. The article went viral within days. Messages poured in from strangers thanking me for giving voice to something they thought no one else understood. And Selma? Well, if she read it, I'm sure she realized that no amount of spin could erase the truth anymore. But here's the thing. I wasn't thinking about Selma when I shared my story. I wasn't thinking about my relatives or even my parents. I was thinking about that kid in the photo, the one who needed to know that being cast out wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Today, I live life on my terms, surrounded by people who knew my worth. Not because I proved it to them, but because they saw it from the start. Selma's name hasn't crossed my mind in months. She's exactly where she belongs, in the past. Corvin's story is proof that sometimes the best revenge isn't about dramatic confrontations or public takedowns. It's about quietly becoming everything they said you couldn't be. No shouting, no proving points, just thriving. Now, here's a thought for you. If you were in Corvin's shoes, would you have confronted Aunt Selma earlier? Or would you have played the long game and let success do all the talking? Drop your thoughts below, because in the end, nothing speaks louder than living well.